Coming up on the Pete Souza Show on the Rogue Sports Media Network, we got to talk about Caitlyn Clark, which means we got to bring in our main man, national beat writer for women's basketball, Doug Feinberg with the Associated Press. We also talk about the Boston Celtics. We've got Cam Stuart in-house, ESPN Zone. He chats with us about what he expects from this series and why he does not like Kyrie Irving. We get into that bag of tricks. And we also talk a little bit about the 7M, what is the documentary? Dancing for the Devil. We talk about that with Mike Hamilton. He is our resident Colt expert. And, we rock and roll, baby. It's exciting times. By the way, I got my Cole World, my Jada Coleman shirt on. I'm watching Oklahoma in the College World Series. I'll tell you, I'm not really a fan of any one particular team, but I watched the Oklahoma women's softball team when I got a chance to call the Big 12 tournament. And it's hard not to like them. I always say they're like the U. They're losing right now, though. They need to get it together. All right. All right. I came in here last week, and Mike was like really getting weird about, what else?
I was ready.
No, you were ready for Dancing for the Devil, the 7M TikTok cult. And I will tell you, I apologize.
Really?
It more than delivered. Now, couple things. If you haven't watched it yet, just skip this part of the podcast because we're going to talk about it.
No, listen to it. Listen to this part of the podcast exclusively. Just this part.
That's true. There's really nothing to give away.
Nah, not
right?
Really. Not
but
really.
It's a dive inside. What are your thoughts about this cult? Because we talk about all the cults.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I love cults. I think cults are fascinating.
Yeah.
But
all right, we're going to go right to it. We're going to do a cult draft. All right, you can pick a cult leader. I'm going to let you go first because you're like the Clippers, right? Of like the 80s and 90s, right?
I'm the Clippers?
Yeah, you finished worst.
What an insult.
Yeah. Your cult finished last season.
I always tend to go with the Heaven's Gate.
Oh, Marshall.
Cult, Marshall Applewhite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is weird because it's the same name as the guy that was in Texas.
That was Major
Applewhite, same thing.
Marshall might have been
Marshall,
his brother.
Major, whatever. Yeah.
Marshall
both in the
Applewhite.
same. They're both in the same service, so it's fine.
Zach?
I always feel like it's an oldie.
And the girl that died of cancer, the one that said she was an alien and she was his partner and then she ascended or whatever. That's the part I love about it. There was two of them. And then she dies,
remember, they're
and then
both
he
on the
goes
videos.
completely nuts.
And then he was just by himself.
Yeah. This is weird to have a draft for this. I feel like it's an oldie, because it's terrible people. But I feel like Jim Jones is always one that's like.
In my cult draft room, we're just like,
you should have traded up.
Now this is all terrible stuff.
Here's the thing.
Maybe we should
This is all.
It is all terrible, yeah, but
It's awful, but it's interesting and people talk about it all the time.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But here's the thing: I don't know that that's apples to Applewhites, because it's. Thank you. It is. You're talking about a vast number of people being killed. I'm talking about weirdness.
That is
right, and those are two very different things as far as cults go. But all cults break down to the exact same thing. So it's I'm a loner, or I'm in trouble, or I hate myself, or I'm down on my luck. Great, come on into this family. Now give us all your money, break up with your family, and then eventually somebody's going to have sex with you or your children. And that's every cult.
Really?
Every single cult. Yeah.
See, that's so dark.
Yeah.
I don't even want to do my pick now. I'm going to say.
Well, we didn't start one. I mean,
we can just move past it. It's like, this was a funny idea, and we just move past it.
All right, here's my here's my pick now that Jim Jones was taken, because Jim Jones was terrifying to me as a little
by the
kid.
way, you know Casey, my buddy Casey Jones?
Yeah.
His dad's name's Jim.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's
no
Jim Jones.
relation.
No relation. Not the same one.
So there's a rapper, there's a defensive tackle.
There is a rapper.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very Jim Jones. Come on.
All right, last part of this.
Flavor Aid, not Kool-Aid.
I'm going to say my guy is from what was that? The Netflix There was
Pray Sweet thing.
Oh, the
out
Wild Country one?
Yep, the Wild
what was
Country
his
guy.
name?
There was Sheila that was the woman, and
Yes.
then there was
I can't think of his name right
so
offhand, but yeah.
I got Wild Country guy. All
Okay.
right? Now here's we're gonna move on now and staying with the same thing.
Yeah.
You know who my last pick would be?
Who's that?
Robert Shin. That was the guy who
Really,
did-
the TikTok guy, huh?
He was awful.
Huh?
He is a pretty bad leader.
He had no charisma.
Yeah, he doesn't have any charisma. No.
I feel like that's a must if
He's
you're
always,
gonna.
How you doing?
No,
right?
he was just a preacher, and he was there at the right time
Yes.
with the right people.
Praise the Lord.
And the other thing about
Hallelujah.
well, the other thing that's very very weird about that situation is he got to try it out a couple of times before he finally did that one.
Yeah.
Like he had tried he'd tried
See,
doing
I
this
haven't,
before.
so I haven't seen this, so like this wasn't his
Yeah.
first
No.
foray into
No.
cult
No,
behavior.
No, and
No.
it was the perfect storm because really what happened was these were look, everybody we make content here.
Sure.
It's a real grind. And like if you're somebody like, you would consider out in front, you just want all that other stuff to get taken care of.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to create, right? I mean,
It's kind of what we're built on here.
yeah, and no, seriously.
Yeah.
And so these starving artists, you could say, these incredible dancers are out in LA and they're making content, they're getting brand deals where they're getting paid a little bit of money, but they just can't keep up with making like that's hard to
Sure.
make that content
Sure.
and to do it the right way. So this guy was like, "Hey, you come to my church, you're already here. Let me produce." Oh, I don't know if the
He
chicken.
looked like
I don't know if the chicken or the egg was first. Thinking
basically they looked at him and saw a giant fast forward button.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
they figured they were going to be able to fast forward their career, do all this stuff, and just make content and be happy.
Yeah.
I don't know, and the documentary doesn't really touch on how he hypnotized them because they were definitely hypnotized. I mean, I don't understand how they couldn't look at this and go, "Oh crap, maybe I shouldn't do that." There's two of them still in it that are just all in.
Yeah, and one of them's like super successful.
Yeah.
She married another guy from the cult.
Yeah.
These are two like outstanding dancers, and they've fallen in love. The one girl, like a little sports thread. So these two sisters, they both kind of flirt with the cult. The one goes
Yeah.
all in,
Yeah.
and the other one's like, no way,
Yeah.
because they're both dancers, and the cult.
That's what I'm
leader-
saying. Like, what's the difference between those two? What made one of them go completely off the edge and one of them go, "Oh shit, I shouldn't do this"?
I don't know. I
Pardon
mean,
me.
I don't know. But so the one of them, the one who's still there, married a real like a charismatic, like attractive dancer that's still in the cult. And then the other one that got out, she just married Austin Eckler in the off season.
Yeah.
Of the NFL now with Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
By the way, the
Which
guy
some say is a football team.
the guy who so the father, his name's Dean and Kelly Wilking. They're the parents of this one daughter.
They were
who's-
friggin' heroes, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
God
were
almighty.
and so they went viral with the fact that they couldn't get in touch with their
Yeah.
daughter, and this started everything. This is still like a fluid situation.
Well, and then they
Yeah.
fly to Hollywood,
Yeah.
and you know how they found the place where they were all at? They looked at the videos that were being produced for Instagram or whatever,
Yeah.
and they would look at the backgrounds and look for landmarks, and then they just drove around town until they found the house.
Oh,
and the best part about it, like,
That was pretty cool,
Yeah, that's-
honestly.
yeah.
and it's surprising because Dean Wilking, the dad, looks like an offensive coordinator
does.
whose team can't score.
He does.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, there's Dean Wilking, the Giants down
Yeah.
42-7. He
Yeah.
hasn't been able to
This
find
is
it
a sixth
today.
team. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
His sixth team in 7 years. But yeah, it's really cool. Mike, last thoughts on this documentary. Why should people watch it?
I think, if you like cult stuff, I mean, you'll enjoy it. I think
Why does everybody like cult stuff?
because you want to know how that could happen, and you also like when I watch them, I just marvel at the fact that it's the exact same thing every time, and people keep falling for it. It's like phishing, or it's like spam calls or whatever. Everybody keeps falling for it.
Yeah.
It's nuts to me. I don't understand it. I think people, especially nowadays, need so much love, attention. Just people telling them that they're good at something, that they'll take anything. And that's why I think you're seeing a rise of those kind of things. And now these kind of cults, honestly, they appeal to much younger generations, which you couldn't do with cults, honestly, before that.
But you can do it through social media now, you think? Or
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they built that one,
Yeah.
So I think that's probably your first, 21st century social media
Yeah.
cult.
like they would pay you $100,000 out of money that you earned, and they would take, like, they showed a pie chart. They 85 to 90%
it was like
will
somewhere
go back
between
into the
70
coal.
and 90% they would
Yeah.
take.
Gotcha.
But the way they would do it is it was divided up in like a pie. So like, okay, you got to give 10% for this, then you got to give 10% for God, and then you got to 10% for holy man, and you got to get 10% for this. And then by the time you add it up, it's like 80%.
Yeah.
Stupid.
All right, Doug Feinberg coming up. He is not stupid. We're talking women's basketball and, of course, Caitlyn Clark and the drama around the WNBA. First of all, is it true that you've never had alcohol or coffee?
That is true, yes.
So here we are. You're a lifelong sports writer, national sports writer. I think you're the only one that I've ever bumped into that doesn't have alcohol or coffee. You're like a unicorn.
I also don't drive, being a New Yorker, so I'm a complete waste of my friends. If you want to add that too to the mix, but
so when you get into a city, are you straight Uber or do you rent a car?
yeah, no, I don't have a license, so I can't rent a car. Uber is the greatest invention ever for me in some ways.
Were you born and raised in New York?
Born and raised, yeah.
What part?
The city, Manhattan.
Wow. How about that? And when did you start writing about sports?
For the AP was 95. Actually, my 29th anniversary was like a week or two ago. I did it in college a bit as well. So it's been and some high school stuff. So it's been a while.
Where'd you go to school?
speak. I went to Columbia.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
It was not for the sports there. I can tell you that. So.
All right. So let's get into this. I know it's been exhausting for you, but I'm curious about some of the Caitlyn Clark stuff, and then I do want to ask you about the league in general. But because you're there
Sure.
on the day-to-day, you cover the grind. There's a lot of scuttlebutt what people are talking about around the country, and then there's the truth. What are people that cover the league that actually know what's going on and going to games and are in locker rooms? What is the thought process there as to what's going on with the league and with Caitlyn Clark?
Well, let me correct one thing. We're not actually allowed in locker rooms anymore. They took away locker room access last year.
Okay.
So, which actually is sad in a lot of ways, but especially right now, you get a chance to talk to players sort of off the record, behind the scenes, and that doesn't exist anymore.
Why'd they do that?
The players union thought it would be more valuable for the players to have a safe space for their mental health. So they cut off locker room access, which is probably a good own 30-minute conversation on itself of the minuses of all of that. But that was the reason behind it. You can still get any player you need to after the game, but you've lost the idea of being able to talk to them sort of one-on-one off the record just to catch up and build relationships, so to speak, as you know, on the side as opposed to
That's a bummer
otherwise.
Because, I mean, even when I worked in PR in basketball, like you get the 10-minute cooling off period. So that's the time where you can collect yourself. But again, that's a whole other conversation. Okay, so somebody who is covering the league all the time, what is the truth to what's going on?
So I think there's actually a few truths here, and I know there's been a lot of discussion over the last couple of days about Caitlyn Clark, physical play, dirty play. I mean, the WNBA for years has been a physical league. No one's really been paying attention to it. It's no different than the NBA, no different than the NHL, no different than NFL. So it's no different than any other sport that they're physical play. As far as Clark goes, I mean, one of the ways people tried to get in her head in college is be physical with her. She's admitted she needs to probably put on 10 or 15 pounds of muscle to make that next level. So being physical is a way to try to stop her, so to speak. The play that Kenny Carter did the other day was obviously not a basketball play. It was a dirty play in many ways, with her shoulder checking her after on an out of bounds play. I think as Carter said in her own words, that like if you just took that one clip, you didn't really understand the whole game. By no means is it justified, no matter what happened to her pregame or during the game. But that's part of it, that it's basketball and things happen. I think mistakes were made in the game itself. The officials probably should have at least reviewed the play at that point and upgraded it to the flagrant one it became the next day when the league stepped in. But teams are physical with her. I think there's a mixture. I think players, for the most part, respect who she is, respect what she's brought to the game. But there's also, as a rookie, you have to prove yourself a bit. And you're coming to a league that's been established for 27 years before this year, and you're coming in and you have to sort of make a name for yourself. What you did in college doesn't really matter in some ways. So there's a lot of different angles to this. And to Clark's credit, she has said nothing at all negative towards any other player. She's handled the physicality. She said, listen, it's a physical league. I understand that. She has gotten the most technical fouls in the league already with 3 in the first 11 games because she's been known to complain to officials about the physicality sometimes and calls not being made. But she's done nothing to deserve any of the negative attention being put on her. And obviously, as I said, the play the other day, which drew a lot of eyeballs and attention to the WNBA, was by no means a basketball play, and it was adjudicated eventually where it should be with Carter getting a flagrant 1 foul off of it.
You know, is it a bummer for you that, like, obviously it's I mean, macro, it's awesome, right? The Caitlyn Clark, what she's done, everybody's talking about the league. Numbers are off the charts. But is it a little frustrating? It is for me as somebody who's been really close to sports, like on a day-to-day with teams. It's like, all right, what are we doing? Like there's so much scuttlebutt out there that's like there's so much noise. That is that frustrating for you as somebody who's like, I feel like you're a part of the sport almost.
It's frustrating, I'll tell you, because like I've been doing this for 20 plus years now, and people are jumping in, which is great. Their eyeballs are great. People want to be involved. There's more media that's paying attention to it now. But there's a lot of homework that I don't think has been done yet. People don't know other players outside of Caitlyn Clark, it seems. I don't know if players have not gotten the attention they deserve. Asia Wilson is one of the best players in the last decade, if not in the entire history of the league. She hasn't gotten her flowers, I think, as much lately. Some of the other players in the past who have been really, really good have not gotten the attention. The physicality, when Candace Parker came to this league in 2008, there was the massive fight in Detroit that people tend to have forgotten about. That was pretty physical play back then towards a rookie who became the only player to win Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season. So what's frustrating to me is the lack of going back and doing your homework before you start making comments about the league and about the players. That's where I'm frustrated at a bit. I think the attention's great. I think the eyeballs are great. I think that social media doesn't help because it gives people a chance to put a quick instant reaction out there. For the most part, those reactions are usually negative because people don't really put positive things on social media, as they've seen, which doesn't help. And that becomes the narrative, which is not good for anybody. But I think in the whole, when we get through this adjustment period, it's going to be great for everybody paying attention to the WNBA.
What's the number one story? By the way, I love what you said, like bringing context to the conversation. That's what we're lacking right now with a lot of this stuff. What's been the story of the WNBA this year for you that people aren't talking about? Something about the league that's going on that is being totally overlooked by this Caitlyn Clark cloud.
So there's a couple things. To me, I mean, the fact that right now, as Tuesday afternoon, Connecticut is 8-0. They're undefeated. And that, to me, is a team that has made it to the finals a couple times, and they've been really good the last few years. And right now, they're the best team in the league. They haven't lost yet. So that, I think, is a piece of the puzzle that no one's really paying attention to. And Connecticut loves throwing the disrespect term out there with the capital CT at the end of disrespect. and it's going to feed that more. I mean, they're under the radar and undefeated, which is hilarious to think about. I think there's been a lot of positive things. I mean, the charter flights sort of went back to Caitlyn Clark. People are like, oh, she came in the league. We have charter flights now. It helped, but the league has been working on charter flights for a couple of years. And it just maybe was sort of the accelerant to get the flights to happen sooner rather than later. But that, again, has been sort of talked about in a negative light. Like, oh, we didn't need Caitlyn Clark to do this. It's been discussed for a while here. So that's another piece. And I think also the schedule, it's been brutal for a lot of people. Indiana had the worst schedule of anybody, playing 11 games in 20 days to start the season with a young team. And I talked to them the other night when they were in New York. I think Kelsey Mitchell said they had either 0 or 1 practices since training camp. With a young team, that does not help be a recipe for success. And the schedule is going to even out in the end. Everyone's going to have their tough stretch, so to speak. I think Las Vegas, the defending champions or two-time defending champions in New York right now are playing the Commissioner's Cup. They both have 5 games in 8 days. That's not good for anybody. And those are the 2 best teams from last year. So the run that Indiana had wasn't good for them. Now New York and Las Vegas have it. So those are things that I think people are not really talking about per se and are focused on the Caitlyn Clark and all the attention that she is rightly getting, but maybe the negativity that's coming with it is what people are focused on right now.
Talked about A'ja Wilson, talked about Caitlyn Clark. Who's a player that is so worth watching, the people who aren't watching the sport that you know about, that is just electric?
There's a few. I'll give you a couple names. I think Arike Ogunbowale of Dallas is one of the leading scorers in the league. I think she might be either 1 or number 2 right now for the points per game. Jewel Lloyd in Seattle has been fantastic for the last couple of years. She's fun to watch. Kalia Copper, who came over to Phoenix this year as a free agent, has been fantastic as well. I think she had a couple games in a row. She scored 35 or more points. Just 3 players have been in the league for a couple years that may not have gotten the attention that some players have gotten in the past, like an A'ja Wilson or Breanna Stewart of New York. So those are players that are exciting that may not get the same name recognition. But if you're a fan of the game, you enjoy watching them.
All right, I'm going to let you go with this last one. What's the biggest story of the college basketball offseason right now?
I'm not as well versed on it as I should be, but I think the whole lawsuit thing, as far as the NCAA and players getting paid down the road, I think is a big thing. And obviously, you have the realignment next year, the conference movement that the Pac-12 is no more. You have teams like USC and UCLA playing in the Big Ten, Stanford and Cal playing in the ACC. Good luck on that travel schedule, going across country to play games on a Wednesday night.
How about you covering it? I mean, do you cover college? I know WNBA is kind of your bread and butter, but you cover women's hoops in college a lot too.
I got a busy schedule. I got college from October to April for the most part, WNBA from April through October, and through on this summer I'll be in Paris for the Olympics, covering the USA basketball and actually all women's basketball. So it's a year-round sport now, which is great because I love hoops. I love covering women's basketball. To me, there's nothing better to tell stories that are undertold. But it is a busy time, and it's a lot to keep up on.
What's your best memory? I lied. One more question. What's your best memory covering the women's national teams over the course of the past 20-some years?
They never lost, and I will not take credit for it. It's not like I do anything to help them win, but I've covered every Olympics and World Cup since 2008, and the USA is undefeated in those major events. So I've never seen the U.S. lose. But I guess a moment for you to answer that question is at the World Cup in Australia a couple of years ago, the crowds were electric. The Australian Sports Commission did a tremendous job bringing fans in. Every game felt like a big game, whether it was the Australians playing, the Chinese team playing, the Americans playing. It was what you're seeing now in the U.S. at WNBA games and college basketball without Caitlyn Clark, and that to me was a sign of the growth of the sport.
Doug Feinberg, man, thank you so much for your time, dude. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, pal. Always a pleasure.
All right, guy, man. Talk to you next time. Thank you so much. Okay, we are here with Cam Stewart, not a Rogue Media's own, ESPN Central Texas' own, but Boston's own.
Correct.
Massachusetts' own.
Yeah.
This is the moment you've been waiting for, Cam. You've got the Celtics and the Mavs tipping off tomorrow night in the NBA Finals. We're going to pretend this is Wednesday, even though it's Tuesday, so just hang in there with me.
Okay. I could work with that.
Is Joe Mazzulla ready to win a championship?
Yes. Yes. I actually find the coaching matchup of this fascinating because, I could argue the same thing, is Jason Kidd ready? I think he's done a terrific job with this Mavs team, much better than his first go-around as head coach. Yeah, I think they both have the teams to get there. I think the Celtics have a better team. And I think Mazzulla, sometimes to a fault, but mostly to the good, has stuck by his guns and his style, and it's what's gotten them back to the finals.
So as a fan, you're on board. You think, okay, down the stretch, fourth quarter, Game 7, you look over at your bench and you see Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah. Yeah, I just saw 3 close games in the conference finals, and they won them all.
Yeah.
Which was the knock on this team before getting there was they're too good. they haven't played any clutch minutes yet. And then they played clutch minutes, I think, perfectly. Now, Indiana's a young team, of course, but they handled that 3 times of asking. They handled it absolutely perfectly.
What scares you the most about the Mavs outside of Luka?
Kyrie.
Why?
I think he's a vindictive person, and here we go. Here it is. Like, this is the ultimate get back. And, of course, I think the Celtics should be feeling the same way about going against Kyrie. And I think the storyline's probably a bit played up 5 years later. But, like, he is one of the best finishers on the planet, both, like, through the trees and at the basket and finishing off a game. I always said about Kyrie, I think he can score 40 a night if he wanted to. And I don't like giving those alphas an extra bit of motivation. And it's him and Luka, but I hate the story that could be written if the Celtics don't win this title. That revolves around Kyrie going back and getting his revenge, even though it should be us getting revenge on him. But whatever.
Take me back 5 years, okay? Because I don't know that people know enough about this, but you do, and I know a little bit. It was like a real bad scene in the second half of the year, correct? Like it was, if you remember, I remember when you guys lost to the Bucks to get bounced, and he was like so happy to like be going home, it seemed. And I remember like, and I don't want to get too NBA old school, but he was like certainly like, hey, like just glad-handed everybody after the game. And I remember thinking as a fan, like, wow, that's kind of weird. Like I've never seen that before.
It still rubs the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like even if you see it today when like the guys are, dapping up and like giving hugs, it's like kind of still weird for a lot of fans. But for the Kyrie thing, what also needs to be put in there is how beloved he was when he came on board. I mean, Celtics fans loved Isaiah Thomas, but when he was put in that trade package, it was a no-brainer. And Kyrie was about to become the king of the city. If it had gone to plan, it would have been Brady rides off into the sunset, and Boston is now Kyrie's town.
Yeah.
Like I loved watching him play. We all did. Like it was so fun. It was the perfect scenario of, hey, here's LeBron's sidekick who's ready to lead a team by himself, and it's us. We've been saving up for years for this kind of trade and the draft capital that we had. And Celtics fans were defending all his weird stuff at every turn because we were like all okay with it as long as he was our guy. So the end of year 1, he gets hurt, and so does Hayward's obviously hurt in there too with the gruesome injury. And the Celtics, with a bunch of young guys, Tatum rookie, Brown second year, and a mix of like Horford and Marcus Morris and all that, they go to the conference finals. They're 1 win away from the finals. And so the Boston falls in love with this team, and there were rumors that Kyrie didn't like that. He didn't like that there were other people stealing the shine. And the way Kyrie talks about his time in Boston now, he kind of says it without saying it. He's like, I wasn't mature enough, blah, blah, blah. So that's probably true.
He was like 25, 26, right?
Yeah. He wasn't an old guy.
Yeah.
But had played in the league and won a championship and all that. So then we get to the back half of 2019, and it isn't going well. Like, they're not playing well in close games. There's worries about, like, Kyrie doesn't want the young stars to have the ball.
Yes, I remember
He's
that.
arguing
And
with
he
them
was
after
also
the games.
I remember he wasn't accountable, right? He
Very much
he
so,
would lay
yeah.
blame on other players, like publicly.
And that happened, like young guys too.
Yeah.
And stories would come out about, unnamed assistant coaches for the Celtics, like wondering if he was going to show up to team optional events or workouts or things. And they're like, here we are. This guy's supposed to be the leader of our team, the face of the franchise. Could you imagine LeBron not showing up to something like that? And they're wondering, walking on pins and needles of whether they're going to say the wrong thing to Kyrie or whether it's going to tip him off or everything. And the summer before his last year, he does this season ticket holder event that he says, I'd love to re-sign if you guys would have me. And then it starts rolling into this spring of all the stories I was just talking about. Plus, he just completely mails it in against Milwaukee, like quits on his team in real time on the live television. He shoots like 22% for the series. It's like a train wreck, and you're watching it game after game. They won game 1 of that series by 20 points in Milwaukee, and we're like, shit, yeah, here it comes. And he just stunk stunk, and he would not, like, it was as close to a ball hog from a movie as you would see
Like Teen
in
Wolf.
today's NBA. Yeah, and it was like he completely given up on the team and just went like radio silent after the season. And next thing you know, before free agency even opens, he's got a deal ready to go with the Nets. And it was just such a sour taste. And of course, after that, he stomps on the logo, which does mean something to some people still. He's flipping off the crowd behind his head, and like it was a bad deal. And thankfully, the Celtics swept his Nets a couple years later, which has helped in that. But like it's just
2022, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, Pete, it's a bit of a superiority complex in that you don't do that to Boston. The same way I would say, like, you don't do that to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Because when you go there, like, these people, they love you. They idolize you. They prop you up to be what I was just talking about.
They
like
take
the
you
king
in.
of the city. Yeah. And we would have went to bat for anything with Kyrie, even all the weird stuff he's done since then. I guarantee you Celtics fans would have backed him up. And so it did feel like that, like, hey, we're not Miami, we're not Houston, we're not Indianapolis. Like, you don't pull that on us and expect us to be like, oh, well, we loved him because he donated to charity. It's like, no, man, like, you don't treat us like that and expect to get treated well. So all that to say, Pete, I actually don't think it's as big a deal now as the national media makes it out to be, but he will get a rude awakening. Well, not awakening. He'll know it's coming. He'll get a rude treatment tomorrow night, like, for sure.
What's the storyline you're looking forward to outside of Kyrie? Something nobody's talking about.
Ooh, good question. Because we're talking about the Kyrie thing. We're talking about the legacy of each team. Honestly, I guess if to go with the no one's talking about it, it would probably be the coaching stuff. But I'm intrigued, obviously, to see if the Celtics win it and how they win it if they do. Because I think so many people want it to be, Tatum just takes over and has 45 points. He has 20 in a fourth quarter. And I think if they do win it, it's not going to be that way.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if they win the way they've been winning all year of making the right play, and it doesn't matter who actually scores it, if we're going to look back on that and say, man, that's great team basketball. I wish we had more teams like that. Or have we crossed the Rubicon and it's going to be, yeah, but I know Tatum won 2 or 3 titles, but he was never the alpha in any of them. So I'm interested.
What about the Tatum Brown
because
stuff?
Like the Curry thing too, he won his first 3 without winning Finals MVP.
Yeah.
And some people actually care about that, which is insane to me. But the Tatum Brown stuff,
is there anything to that?
no.
Yeah, that's
No.
complete BS.
It's so. And did you see the video that Greenberg was playing?
I mean, it was ridiculous.
It's like he's got a grin ear to ear, but he's not touching Jaylen Brown. It's like, what?
That
the
was
hell
the
are
that
we
was the
doing,
epitome,
man?
and that leads me to my next question. Like,
yeah. So I don't think they're like best friends.
Yeah.
But they're perfectly fine together. Trust me, in today's NBA too, especially with both of them having signed contracts by now, someone would have forced their way out if they didn't like it. Like that just would have already happened. I think they really do like each other. Yeah.
Eastern Conference Finals. We're on ESPN. This kind of brings me from my last question into this one. What have you thought about the coverage of the NBA, new broadcast team? How have they been faring with you? Because you're a diehard Celtics fan. And I don't know, what do you think about that? I mean, if it wasn't Doris Burke and J.J. Redick with Mike Breen, it would be Doc Rivers and Doris Burke. But what do you think about that?
Honestly, I think they're fine. I just don't like 3-man booths. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well,
I think that's like forcing it. And they did have it with Van Gundy and Jackson too. I don't want to say it's like this year's a new thing.
Yeah.
But like JJ is a really good analyst. Like he's very analytical in the truest sense. But as a color guy, you don't have time to be analytical. And so it's like he's trying to force this point in there. And then Doris will, basically try to say something to make JJ feel better or that, hey, I'm still here. And it's like those are 3 very talented people, I think. More talented than the crew you had before. But
really?
I think so. Yeah, I think they know more. I think JJ is a better analyst, but he just doesn't have the time. And so it doesn't come across as a better product. So
I don't know why
I didn't mind Jackson and Van Gundy. I understood why some people were like, it's probably their time to just be done. But like, I don't know, with watching some of these Celtics games, and when they're up by 20 points, I don't mind the announcers goofing off a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is what Jackson and Van Gundy would do.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I also think Breen's kind of lost his fastball.
Oh,
too.
stop.
I do. He's still damn good. Like, he's still one of the best.
Give me an example, and not like a perfect example, but something that you've noticed over the course of maybe the past 2 years. This is a guy, by the way, you rode Mike Gorman. You were on the high horse with him. He's like 80 years old. Yeah, you never had an issue with him. Yeah,
he was great, but he always had the same brand. I think Breen is it just doesn't feel as impassioned as it used to be.
Okay.
Which, like, again, he's still. I would still much rather have him than almost anyone else on the call. But yeah, he hasn't gotten to the Al Michaels yet. Al Michaels is having a tough time, and Al Michaels is probably the best to ever do it at the national level, I think. But you can start to kind of see the signs a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, and I wonder if it is, lack of interest. Or, I mean, look, we're talking about people who have so much money.
Yeah.
They probably love being in it, but maybe some of that is gone. And I have no idea, but that's just a guess. And then also age, right? Like, Father Time's undefeated.
Yeah. And and the other thing too is, like, Breen might, I don't want to say necessarily buying into the narrative, but when you've done this for whatever, 30 years, and you've done the finals for 20 years or whatever it is, maybe a Celtics-Pacers series doesn't do a lot for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's, like, genuinely, and especially, I mean, I don't want to put loyalties into question here, but the Knicks were the other team that could have been in it. And that would have been an awesome series for the headlines. And it just wasn't. So maybe that plays into it a little bit. I don't know. But Father Time is undefeated.
All right, so you're a guy, I mean, you want to talk about brass balls. You've hung a Celtics banner outside of your place in Waco, Texas. I wouldn't exactly call it Baghdad down there, but I give you props.
They won't do shit.
I give you props.
They won't do anything.
I give you props for showing your true colors. Any plans on going up next week? I guess it's Wednesday, first home game in Dallas. Any plans as going to visit as a fan to watch?
I've tried. I have looked into this.
Oh, you have? What are we talking about? Prices?
At least $800-900 to get in the door.
Wow.
And $1,200 plus for Game 6, which is the one I have looked at. I've put my faith in God on that one. Of, like, if it's 3-2 Celtics heading to a Game 6 at Dallas, that is the good Lord telling me that I need to go to this game. But I literally can't. I can't afford that.
Well,
I'll
I'll
sell
tell
a
you
kidney or something.
One thing, not a bad move. I've done this before when I was younger, around your age. Once this is crazy, you won't want to do this, but I'm just gonna say, once the ball goes up, it's a buyer's market out there. Like, not usually some of those scalpers, like, not every ticket is gone by tip off. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
And then once the game starts, like, that market goes down. But
if I buy something off a scalper, and it ends up not being a legit ticket,
forget about it.
Like, am I getting arrested though?
No, I mean,
I'm just out a couple $100, but
no, you're not getting. I mean, look, you're not getting.
Okay, all right, because that's like
the
double whammy I'd like to avoid.
If you're getting arrested, you're part of a sting that was centered around Zach Burke, who's been selling BS tickets out there. So you're at the bottom of the totem pole. So really, all you'll have to do is talk, and then you'll be free.
All right, so I'll be out like $600, but
but I will say too, and you can
I might try that though if it's 3-2 and like. Okay, then worst case, I don't get one, and I watch at a bar, and I miss the first quarter.
That's what I'm saying.
Who cares?
I did that last year with the women's final. I college basketball. I was in a girl I was dating at the time. We went out in Dallas on a Sunday, and we both like hoops. And I was like, let's go to try to like get in the game because it was like it had been a little bit. I was like, let's just check out the scalpers, and the guy owned me. I was like, how much? And he was
not
like,
a good barter.
$250. I was like, a piece? He's like, yeah. I'm like, no way. I'm like, it's the second half. He's like, first of all, it's not the second half. It was like,
and it was
like the first quarter or second quarter. And then I was like, all right, this isn't worth it. You're trying to be a tough guy in front of like, a woman. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, we'll go. So, all right. I guess that's it. Anything else people need to know about the finals?
Oh, man. Just that I haven't slept.
What's your final prediction?
I like the Celtics still.
Okay.
I like the Celtics in 6.
Okay.
Maybe that's me trying to manifest it, but I do, especially with Porzingis back. We got this news on Tuesday that Porzingis is supposed to be in the lineup game 1, and that is like the ultimate mismatch for everyone. And I think that's what actually unlocks the gives the Celtics the matchups against the Mavs. So I have not slept in a week. I have not stopped thinking about this, Pete. Like I've thought about all the scenarios that Kyrie beats the Celtics in the finals, and I'm just dead inside, and like might just stop coming to work or something. And then I thought the other day, what if they beat Kyrie in the finals? And then I went back to thinking about losing to him. So. Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough sledding. I have not known what to do with myself. We are almost there. Almost there. This is the most pressure-packed. Here's your poll quote here. This is the most pressure-packed Boston sports series of my lifetime. With all the championships that we've had, and I've been very blessed.
Why do you say that?
Because it's been a while.
It's been a while. It has been a while.
It's been a while for Boston. It's been 5 years, and it's been a cruel kind of 5 years in a couple of different ways. And look, I get that's not the longest wait ever. It's 16 years for the Celtics.
2008.
It was the day I graduated elementary school.
Yeah.
Was the last time they won it.
I was living in Philly.
10.
I was not sober. And I remember that time. Well, I remember that was when they beat the Lakers. That was a fun. That was a fun series. I mean, it was Celtics, Lakers. Woof,
the juice was back. Like,
that was a blast, man. Yeah.
And the Celtics have been through so much since then. They've rebuilt twice, and each time they've had contenders that have not gotten over the hump.
Yeah.
And like I think, says someone who kind of lives online too much, the Twitterness of the NBA, it's like all the narratives and all the stuff. You wouldn't live it down if this Celtics team does not win the title. And so it feels like, if not now, when? And I had that with the Patriots. Like every time the Patriots lost in the playoffs, specifically the Super Bowl, it was a massive deal. I mean, you can attest to this.
Yeah.
It was like an all-time deal when they would lose. And so that would suck. But this feels almost bigger than that because the Patriots could always be back. They had Brady. They could always be back. They knew that Brady could take them there and win it, and Belichick too. But this, we just don't know. And even if they don't win it this year, they'll have the best roster in the league next year too. But it feels like, if not now, when? You have to do it. And, yeah, living near Dallas and living alone, like that might not be fun if the Celtics lose this series.
Don't you live with your girlfriend?
She moved.
Oh, that's right. She moved to where? Atlanta?
Chicago.
Chicago. And she's a doctor?
He's getting her doctorate, yeah.
Wow.
So I'm gonna move with her eventually. She hasn't left me yet, but the next couple months I'm here stag, and that might not be a good.
I mean,
thing.
I'm sure she loves you.
I'm sure.
I know she loves you because there's a lot to love.
50-50.
But I'm sure this point, like weeks like this, she's like, God, let him handle that alone. And then we'll
she'll
regroup.
hear about it. Like I'll send manic texts over and over. But she's like,
That's
we
love,
talked about
dude.
this last
'Cause
time.
you've
She
talked
slowly gets
to me.
into it. Like
Yeah.
we watched most of the conference finals together. Thank
Yeah.
God it was a sweep. I mean,
Do you miss her?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I
found out how dependent I am too. Whew.
Does the house feel a lot bigger, like the apartment?
So I
without
moved
her?
into an apartment.
Okay.
Yeah, so downsized. But yes, and she helped me like move in. She helped design the place with my stuff and stayed with me for a couple of nights. So even then, it's like it's still kind of stinks.
How
that she's
often
not
do you
here.
see her?
Will I see her?
How often do you?
Because she just
see
moved. Because she just moved a couple days ago.
Her? Yeah. Okay. When's the next time you'll see her?
The end of this month.
Okay.
We've got 3 weddings that we have to go to this
Okay.
summer. So I'll see her. But football is gonna be really tough.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough for me to travel. She's gonna be working at a school, so it's gonna be tough for her to travel. That's gonna be the real testing grounds, Pete. is
Now
the
I believe
fall
you're going to
months.
make it. I just want
do
you
too,
guys to be able to
but it
connect.
just stinks. Yeah.
Do you ruin weddings? Do you get really drunk and ruin them and talk a lot about Boston
I
sports?
get really drunk and save weddings. No, I don't ruin them. I have a good time. I don't drink a ton outside of a situation like that. So
Okay.
this next one I'm a groomsman in, so I'll go hard and heavy.
All right,
sure.
just take it easy. All right.
Look,
you
nothing
need to
breaks.
go wire to
nothing
wire.
breaks.
It's a long night.
I have
All
a
right.
good time.
The Cam Show, Cam Stewart. Make sure you catch him also on. I love ESPN Central Texas. You and Matt Mosley.
It's a fun time, man.
Yeah, it really
really
is.
is, yeah.
It's an absolutely fantastic show, and what you're building here at Rogue is fantastic as well. So always appreciate it. Look forward to you coming back soon.
Yes, man. Go Celtics.
No. That'll do it for the Pete Souza Show this week. Coming up next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about television, some nonfiction drama, some Clipped. Cannot wait to get into that show about the LA Clippers based on the documentary in 2019 by Ramona Shelburne. Make sure you join us for that, and make sure you follow Rogue Media. Get all your content there. It's literally the best. We talk about content creation. Corey Dickman, he's our cult leader here, right? All right, see you guys.
We are Rogue Media Sports.